Yeah.
Remind me not to hit you in the shoulder, sorry.
Never started recording in anything in about 5 minutes, not left.
I had this one fixed about 5 years ago.
Good evening, everyone. We will call our January 23rd, 2024 town meeting regular order at 6 p.m. Please waiting to the pledge on his phone. Reflect that all council members are in attendance and we have a forum this evening. First off, I think, Chief, is there somebody that you'd like to introduce? Let's go ahead and kick off the new hire for the Junior Police Department.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, council members, council staff, and to our residents. I just want to introduce Officer Melissa Katz, who's in the back. She's going to go have to speak, when you do not have to speak down here. They're making this officer. She comes with a lot of experience. I think about 8 years of experience altogether. Native to Marion County, and she has been in corrections for quite a bit of time from here, and as well as Colorado, and then came back to Marion County several years ago. And left corrections and went to being a deputy sheriff over there. So we're excited to have her aboard. She started a few weeks ago. She got her FDA. This is the first week that she is actually in a vehicle, so you'll see her out and about. I think you're working with 3 to 3 shifts right now.
Yes.
With Cameron, so we is actually on her right this time. So we just want to say hi and introduce her to our town. She's excited to be here. We're excited to have her, and I think we've got a great night. So let's see. You want to just wait? You don't have to say anything. And that's it. Pretty comprehensive night. So thank you.
And we welcome you to this out here and to our police department. We're proud of our staff and our police department. Great things that you can do. At this point, we will open forum. I had 2 or 3 folks like to speak this evening. I believe both of these may be on the variance. It's proceeding on 12 Pine Street and Lori Gilmore Page and Adam Page at 656 East 6th Avenue. Are you both? You both have variances up for tonight, right? You can speak now, or you can wait until that item comes up. Typically, people wait, so that way if there's specific questions, that's okay. For those. We also did assign it early, and I apologize for the last meeting being changed. We don't normally do that. That particular storm system through tornadoes everywhere. Looked like it could feel, at any time to make the decision, but it still had enough time to do that here. I felt that it's probably better than rather than here. So in Jefferson, you can say you're sorry, we went ahead and received. So the proclamation of Arbor Day, we had to sign otherwise. I want to thank all those who helped with the tree, with the Arbor Day celebration, as well as the tree distribution to the town. It's a great event, went really well. It's really nice trees, a lot of people came out, and I think we received a second chance to. Again, this weekend, right? So,
Thursday.
get your tree before you want the purchase. As native to the area, tree economics, you can. Get all the volunteers, all of the tree board, and Bill Martini was out there, we were delivering trees, get a good time. So, great job by all. Next up, council item 3, we have 2 sets of minutes. You can, actually, we have 1 set of minutes. You can approve those, like you need any changes made to those counts, you can make those. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the 12/12/2023 minutes. Second. Second. Comments, questions, or concern, council? Seeing none, we will hear going to council person three. Aye. 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 Thank you, council. Next up, our consent agenda. We have 2 items this evening, both are variances. We'll hear P24-01 12 Pine Street Benjamin currently on variance to allow an extension of existing grease patio less than 50 on the normal high water elevation of Lake Butler. We recommend this particularly. And we will give our presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Brad Cornelius with Lake Coast, and then the contractor town plan. As the mayor said, this first variance we have is D24-01. It's at 12 Pine Street, and thank you, Mr. Young, someone who's here this evening, if you have questions of her about what they're doing. So what the request is, they're actually in the process of renovating the home. They do have a building permit in process for overall renovation of the home, which everything is going on fine with that. But part of this renovation also included timming and finishing off a raised deck that was at the rear of their home that exists, and bringing it across to go to the end of the home and across the pool. The pool at their property at their house is actually at the back corner of the home and tucked up into the house. So basically they're looking to extend and cover that gap that's there on the property. The reason why the subject fire variance, that part of their house and the pool and the deck is that it's less than 50 feet from a normal highway elevation. That's how that's existed since it's been there. So it's not a new condition. And part of the reason why that is, you see on the map that's in there in the information, you can see that the shoreline kind of raises up onto that corner of that property. So what this extension is, it's a 4 foot, I'm sorry, it's a 5 foot 8 inch extension. It's so not a very long extension, just kind of finish it off, and it's about 4 feet 8 inches wide, which matches the existing deck, raised deck that's already there. So basically just finishing off that piece is what that request for the variance. A couple of things of information that I have, the applicant did provide it, I want to give it to you this evening so you have it. She did, say what it is. She submitted to me a revised site plan that doesn't change what the variance is, but what she is changing is the walkway that you see on the plan, where it's like a continuous walkway. It's now going to be step blocks of grass between it, and so it's information. It doesn't change your variance or anything, but it's the updated plan. Now I'm sure you all have that. The other thing I want to hand to you all, just so you can see if there's any questions. I did also take a picture of the back of the house to see, get a better view of where it's going. You can see that not. There was also a concern about the Cypress Street, and it wasn't in the back. It's all like this out here, and it shows that this does not impact Cypress Street. So then on the south, you also can see that. So that's part. But like I said, these don't change what the request is. In terms of this request, we did send out a notice, and we got a fairly large response. We got 16 responses back on the public notices, and all 16 of them were in support of the request. We didn't receive anybody objecting to the request. We also received, part of that 16 was the neighbors on the other side of it. Also, the development review board, they did review this at the December meeting, And based on the information staff report and what was provided in testimony at the meeting, the development review board did find it met the requirement of variance under Article 10, and they do recommend approval of this variance as it's being presented. I'm here to answer any questions you have of me, as well as the applicants here, also if you have any questions of her.
Thank you, Brad. Council, any questions for Brad?
Brad, the packet that's being handed out now, is that what the RV is?
No, that changed after, but the only thing that changed was the way that, walkway from the house to the dock, that was the only change, didn't change the variance that they would do. So it wouldn't change their consideration, that wasn't.
It's a construction methodology, and I am taking.
Right, and basically it helps with the impervious down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Some additional questions, Brad? The applicant like to address this.
Good evening. I'm sorry I wasn't here this evening. He's in the hospital for the last 6 days, so hopefully he will be feeling better soon. But we just really appreciate the opportunity to present this to you this evening and appreciate your consideration. And if you have any questions for us, please feel free to ask. But it's really just for the safety aspect of our back patio area. Right now, our pool, there's like 12 inches over to the side, and it's just not very safe for our children or for their friends or for anyone that visits our property.
Very much appreciate you bringing that. Council, any additional questions? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve. Amen. Somebody mentioned that. Thank you. All right, second councilperson, and who is the motion maker?
Andy.
Now you want to be here. Yes, it's all I need. We're gonna talk about that later. All right, any additional questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, we can go to councilperson Haynes.
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, so that motion carries unanimously for your variance. Thank you. That gives us, even though maybe feel a little better. Next up is item number 2. This is D24-0465 East 6th Avenue, Adam Page, and Gilmore variance to allow detached accessory garage in the front yard less than 25 feet from the front property. DRB recommended approval in particular case for 0. Brad?
Yes, sir. Again, Mayor, as I said, this is 2404, 656 Avenue, and the applicants are here this evening. Answer any questions, we provide more information for you with this request. This is another property where they do have an active building permit. They are in the process of renovating the home. They are maintaining the home that has been there for a long time and keeping it in place. So that's currently doing. But as part of this project, they're looking to add an accessory garage as part of this project. And as you will recall, what the code requires is accessory structure garages required to be inside of the rear yard. And in this case, the garage is about 480 square feet. So it also has to meet the same setbacks as the principal structure, which would be 25, 12 for this property, 12.5 feet on the sides, and 50 on the back. So we don't want to water. The applicant is asking the variance to be able to place garage back into the front of his house, with the way the code is defined, it's in front of the face of the house, if you draw a line across it. That's what defines the front. So in front of the house, and at a location that's 5 feet from the property line. With this property, as you can see in the information, he's at the intersection of East 6th Avenue and Highland. And in that particular area, you have a much wider right of way than you have normally in the town. Normally, your town right of ways are 60 feet. In this area, because of that, where those two roads come together, it's about 84 feet across in the right of way between those two roads. And that's where the property sits in that location. Also, what you'll notice on his plans, his property line is set quite a bit distant back into the property off of, the travel way. It is very, it actually comes way into this property, and it's actually the water well that's been there, it's actually in the town right away, that's there. But this, the property line comes back quite a bit. So in terms of where this garage will be located, as he's proposing, the closest edge of that garage will be about 55 feet from the closest edge of the travelway 6th Avenue. So the active pavement of travel, be about 55 feet away from that, if it was approved or if it's placed here. Also with this, proposed location, there was some question about, there's also a large tree in this general area. And Tanya had handed out, he actually submitted a sketch up, same drawing. One thing else to note, what's in the packet didn't really clearly show the existing carport that's there. What you have before you, what Tanya handed out now clearly shows that carport in the outline of the existing home. But the scaling and everything is correct for where the garage is to be, but it also shows that where the garage would go, it doesn't impact the tree, it's not at the location of the tree. And the tree is actually in the town right away. It's in the town right away, and I think it is measured about, it was 8 to 9 feet. I think what was on there for that separation. For that part of it. Also because of the size of this would require a stormwater retention plan for the property. This property doesn't have one currently, so they would have to do a stormwater retention plan if this were to be approved, then it goes through the permitting for it, which the applicant is aware of that and understands we'll have to do that. In terms of the public notice, we did send those out. We received 5 back in favor, including the adjacent neighbor that would be closest to this. And we received 1 in objection from the property owner that's on Ridgewood on the other side of 6th Avenue. Other thing I forgot to note is very important. There's also, you'll notice hedges there along the front of the property. The applicant absolutely will maintain those, and I believe they want to actually improve those and add to those. So he'll maintain that hedge line that is already there for that. He also meets all the setbacks. He meets the allowance total floor area. He doesn't exceed the maximum impervious area. And also the height is approximately 13 feet, which is also within the allowance for the height. So that was the last thing the zoning approval board also reviewed this at their December meeting. And again, there's some of the testimony information provided. They did find it met the requirements of Article 10 of the Land Development Code and recommended approval of this variance as presented. Be happy to try to answer any questions, and the applicants here as well.
Quick question, there's an echo over here. It's one of the Zoom coming in. Am I the one here? So I'm going to medication check.
He needs the shoes. He needs the shoes.
Give me the shoes and get like 4 pianos. Council, any questions, comments, regarding this particular variance for Brad?
I do have a
Councilperson Dees.
So I know, I had discussions, I had a lot of the questions that were forwarded to the applicant. Was it ever considered, putting the garage in the back? And I know that I did ask, regarding closing the carport to use it. So was putting it in the back ever considered? Because I think I lost battery. There is space in the back. It does sit back far from the road, but I guess in some ways I'm not seeing what the hardship is. When there is already an existing carport that could be enclosed, that would also create a 2-car garage that they're looking for.
I think he addressed the applicant addressed those, but he did address the questions, so I'll let him. Yes.
That'd be fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, and that is,
Adam Page, 656 East 6th Avenue, in your time. So my wife and I bought this house back in March, and it's been a long road. This, looking back, we could have easily tore the house down and built 1960. she owns a home here now on Main Street, 1127, that she rents out, and then, we live in Apopka, and we got married 5 years ago. Just let you know this because it means a lot to her as town, and she wanted to maintain the integrity of the home and really try to restore it. And so that's what we did, and we took off on that journey, and it's been a costly journey. We probably should have just stored it down and built an eyesore. But we did, so we're coming along and we're almost at the end, we hope to be in the next, well, probably by May, with the garage, so we thought no big deal. And then we learned that even with 60 feet from the road and there's houses, just up the road that like to reach out and touch, that are still. But because of how it was, we're actually, where the property line is, we're actually closer. Anyway, so we had the variance, and the question was, get to your point, sorry, Brady. Can we close the carport? Well, the way the house sits, or the way it's angled, if we enclosed it, it would cut off, like, if that was the window right there, you'd be looking straight out into the garage wall, so it's not gonna look right. And there's also some structural poles in the middle of the carport, we would not be able to fit our vehicles in there. So that was a problem, and then, as far as back of that house, it's on Lake Betsy. So that would we thought that would cause problems environmentally, and plus definitely the neighbors would have an issue with us blocking that view from the lake. So I think that answers your question on that, or at least that's my ability.
Any additional questions, for Brad? Any further discussion, council?
The only other thing I'd like to add is, even though you guys intend to keep the shrubbery in the front, I think that's important that I don't know if it can be made as a condition that would continue in perpetuity, or however you say it, with the land. Because someone else, if you decide in 5 years you're not happy living on 6th Street, someone else could tear all that down, and then that garage is right out there in a few. So I did see the buffer of the book of it. It is very hard to tell what the property line is. I will admit that myself, because I did drive by to check it out. But the one opposition that we did have was a neighbor across the street. So even though they're set very far back, that is directly across from you. So it'd be nice to know that the bushes or something could be maintained in landscaping, if that's a possibility.
And that's not a problem, and we're actually gonna improve it to kind of cut down the noise. And I didn't know, I thought it was just a orange grove across the street, but still, we'll maintain that and improve that as much as we can.
And actually, confirming Sue, it's very possible that Ed is in the town right away.
Yes.
There's a car in there, so
Correct.
it couldn't come out unless.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Council, we are motion to approve. Motion to approve. Motion approved. First Williams. Second, Council President. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Give voting, Council President. Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Variance 24-04. Next up, item C, this is an appointment for Molly Willis to the GR. Representative, any comments prior to vote?
No, we're right.
It's pretty proven. Yeah, that's yeah, I was once or twice before. All right, motion to approve, next. Motion to approve. There's Williams, second Council President David, and voting Councilors Means.
Aye.
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 Who was the second? I'm sorry.
The second Council President David.
Thank you.
Aye. Mine is good.
Everything is fair.
We're down to.
We do try to do the bullshit on this. But I don't think I can do it in 15 minutes. All right. That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next up, town council to appoint a mediation representative. Council, are you gonna speak on this?
Sure, let me.
Okay.
No, I just don't know how to use it. So we had Molly Rose as the liaison for the litigation. And since she has resigned her position, we don't have anyone to participate in the mediation. Which is the court order mediation. It is now tentatively scheduled for February 26th, which Nick said he expects it to be, unless there's an impasse, it could last all day. It'll be at Gray Robinson. So Summer has reached out to Molly, and Molly is willing, if the council would like her to continue, to serve as the representative at the mediation, or you can appoint someone else. It's completely at the council's.
Is there any, legal, obviously you would recommend it if there was a legal issue or anything?
No, there's no legal issue. It's completely up to the council.
I would be more than fine with, I think that Molly is a super solid, balanced, rational thinker that we said that in this particular situation. Also, able to step back a little bit too, if needed, not in the thick of it on the fence. Council, do you agree?
I agree, this for the mediation, will the decision be brought back to council?
I was gonna get to that. No. Good question. There is a narrow extension that I think you probably heard about from the Florida League of Cities before, and me talking about in statutes. It's in 286.011 subsection 8, which allows a closed session of the council for a very narrow subject, which is specifically strategy relating to litigation expenditures and settlement negotiations. So I would like to actually, Nick and Summer, I would like to get your advice on how you would like the mediation, the settlement of the mediation to go. And for that, we need to set a date and time for a closed session, which would need to be advertised. The only folks that come to the closed session are your council members, Robert, and your legal staff, and there will be a court reporter there. The court reporter will make a transcript of the meeting. There won't be anything that's off, that is out of earsight or anything from the court reporter. And once the litigation is complete, that will be that would be public. Exactly. So what I was thinking, since we need to set a time, it depends on your schedules, maybe an hour before the next town council meeting, if that would work with the council. We could also schedule it after the council meeting. It's just hard to set a time unless we stop the council meeting at a specific time. Yes, February 13th, day before Valentine's Day.
That's kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this is the day.
Day before, right, exactly, Valentine's Eve. And we'll give specific instructions in the public meeting will then be closed, more instructions will be given. And then you'll come back into open session and then you'll have your council meeting after that, if that works with everyone.
Yeah, we did this once before, so all that. Does that date work for council?
Yeah, for five.
I think we should proceed. We need a motion for Molly's. So I did with just making that.
Why don't we just do a motion?
So I'll make a motion to retain Molly Rose as our liaison, and then in addition to that motion, we'll have a town council approval mediation closed session on 13th of February from 5 to 6.
Second.
Right, so person Dave. Any questions for council? No. See none, then again, Councilperson Street.
Aye.
Aye.
And one more thing, I think it's important to mention, Councilmember Davitt, you asked anything that is agreed to at a mediation would need to be brought back and approved in an open meeting of the council. So just so everyone understands that the council has to approve any settlement that would ever come before the council.
And that won't necessarily be on the 13th of January, correct? It'll be
No, The mediation is scheduled, like I said, I think the 26th. If there was a proposal, it would be brought back to the council if it was something that would work. Or to happen.
And council might be aware just even during that closed session, something changed. So it is done in private, but eventually the transcript is available once the legal matter is settled. Am I correct in that? So just so everybody does.
For the attorney-client session? Yeah. The attorney-client session, Mayor?
Yeah.
Yes,
That,
oh, yeah.
Must solve it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Be part of the public agenda for the meeting that we approve it. But for
I don't think the strategy portion comes, let me.
So the mediation is not something open to the public because we won't have 2 council members there. So it's not a public meeting. That's separate. The attorney-client session that we'll be holding before your council meeting on the 13th, that will be a closed session with a court reporter here. That court reporter transcript will become a public record once the litigation is complete.
but not necessarily public.
No.
Any further questions? So item D, contracts and amendments, this is RFP 2023-05 landscape services.
Yes, sir. It's a really quick item. The contractor that was performing the work had a contract that had a strange clause in it for renewal, which just said basically they could keep going either by writing or if we didn't stop them, which was not in accordance with state statutes. So when the auditors inquired about that particular contract, I got with Heather's office, Guy in Heather's office, to review the contract to figure out what we needed to do. His recommendation was that we terminate the contract before the end of September, which is the end of the fiscal year. And then what we can do is we can hire somebody in the interim so that we can go through an RFP process because that's required. So what we've done now is gone through the RFP process. We received several responses, and we're recommending that we continue with Down to Earth. They were not the lowest RFP response, but we don't have to go with the lowest on an RFP. And they have been doing the work extremely well. And secondly, they have a Central Florida office, whereas the other company that was the lowest is in Jacksonville. So staff is recommending that we move forward and continue with Down to Earth. It was very minor. So we had, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I mean, $2,000 or.
Yeah, it was just a couple $100.
Oh, okay.
And I am so sorry. I had the,
No, I didn't see it, so
it was, the sheet was in here. I'm so sorry.
Down to the 77,000.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Council, any questions?
Just a quick question, so.
Sure.
Obviously, you didn't choose the low bidder on the RFP. Is
Mhm.
there a scoring criteria or something that we based our decision on?
Yes, we had a committee that reviewed it. Travis and I and John Fitzgibbon reviewed all the proposals we went through, and we based that on the items that you see on page 2. We went through and determined how many staff that they had, what type of diversified services they offered. And the biggest thing for us was making sure that there was a Central Florida office because we didn't want to have to try to deal with a crew in Jacksonville. And we just figured that having a Central Florida office was better for us as far as service delivery went. So that's how we kind of went through the process.
Plus, we had the opportunity to evaluate their work.
Absolutely. And I will say that I have had so many people actually tell me how well they think this new contractor is performing. They can really see it. They're actually trimming hedges, and we used to have issues with the roundabouts and not getting that debris and not getting those weeds that kind of led up to it. They're doing a fantastic job of getting all that. So I've had nothing but compliments.
And they also have capacity to sit with disaster, the engineering or the grid removal required.
Yes, sir.
The other than because we've used option for that in the past.
Yes, sir.
Council information approved.
Mayor motion to approve RFP 2023-05.
Moved by Councilperson Down. Second, Councilperson Williams. Additional comment, question? Anybody, Councilperson Street?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Next up is town manager and Marina Day. Brad, or you?
No, let's see. As you know, the state appropriated about $1.5 million to Main Street and Winter Road for the construction of a roundabout in that location. When we put down the schematics in order to make sure that the large tree that's in the northwest quadrant of the location, we found out quickly that we needed some additional right of way to accommodate not having to make the turn as much, coming south and coming south on Main Street towards that intersection. So we worked with the Marina Bay HOA and negotiated an agreement for the acquisition of additional right of way that's going to be necessary for that roundabout. And what's agreed to is that we would take over the piece of property from the current sign, and the Marina Bay or the town would actually go ahead and construct 2 marquee signs to the north and south of the project in order to exchange for that piece of property. In addition to that, the town will pay for the costs of additional landscaping that is mutually agreed upon. And what's not in the agreement is that we would agree to placing a crossing guard at that location for 1 school year and then reassess after that.
We're gonna have a crossing there because
There's a few residents that have children who go to Winter Elementary School, but I believe the few residents that do have kids, their kids are gonna be aged out by the time this is constructed.
I was just wondering if it was any different than, we didn't put a crossing, we did try to put a crossing guard over by the manors.
Yes.
Also, there is one Windmere Road, there's a crossing.
Yes, on the south side of the road, right, that's in the world.
All right.
In the goodness for 1 year to reassess, so it's not necessarily like the first year.
It's not that we're safe by this.
Yeah, so do the 2 marquee signs, the landscaping, and then they would take up the maintenance of those, and then we would gain the right of way that's going to allow us to build the roundabout.
See the over under on hitting 2 signs at once.
My concern is that without that sign,
What's gonna die? Screen in the middle, so that's all. Alright. This is this really big deal, because that's that's a major choke point down there. Causes a lot of traffic goes, especially coming into town. Council, any questions, comments?
This has nothing to do with the Chase Road.
No.
Okay,
No.
That big trees on right away down there?
No, it's on John Armstrong's property, but in order to just shy away from that a little bit more, protect it. We're moving kind of to the south, a little bit to the west, but not the east. The only area that we would maybe need an easement would be from the manors, and that would be just for the sidewalk attachment.
Council, looking for a motion to approve.
Mayor, may I ask a quick question, or quick comment on this? I don't think Marina Bay, the HOA has had a chance, Robert, yet to review this.
They have,
Have they? Oh, they have?
Yes.
They agreed to it, the way it is?
the only comment they had with the school crossing guard was not in the formally in the agreement, but as Robert and I discussed, as long as we put the minutes for the next meeting, that was fine.
Okay, perfect. I can add that then into the agreement. All right, thank you. Sorry, I have nothing.
It'll be a big improvement. All right. Council, looking for a motion to approve. Motion to approve. Approved, Councilperson Williams, second. Second, Councilperson Davis. Comments or concerns? Being voting the councilperson means.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Next up is discussion and input from the town council regarding Sunset Days request to convert to a private agent. Robert.
This is a request from a third party. This is a request from a third party not based on the town's initiative. So the attorneys have agreed to let the HOA present and let them know where they're at, and then see if the town council would be agreeable to what they're proposing, for them to go ahead and proceed and move forward and incur funds.
Thank you. My name is Henry Rosenthal. I'm president of the Sunset Ranch HOA. And also here's Greg Renner and our attorney. Sarah Harrington. I've been there in Sunset Bay for 32 years, and this I think is the fourth time we approached the city about the possibility of gates. The first 3 times the city said no, and the reason was that they wanted to keep Windermere more as a family community and not separate everybody in some gates. So it's been a long time since the last approach. We've got a lot of new people in the community in Sunset Bay. And this year we had 2 cars stolen. We recovered them within 24 hours because we've got a good camera system at the end. Still, we had 2 stolen. And people are also looking now at Down Reserve, a new community to our west, which of course is gated and a much newer community. So it's come up again. Should we look at gating our community? And we decided we would take a stepwise approach to this because it's complicated. We've got about 34 homeowners. So the first step is to come and see what the city of Windermere thinks of the idea and whether or not they support it. So that's why we're here tonight. Second, we would have to look at a contractor to see if we can actually put gates on the community, because we're very close to the road. It probably will encroach on my own property. It's gonna be difficult to fit them there, but we'll look at it. Third, we've got to be unanimous approval, so with 34 homeowners, we need 100%. And we don't know what this is gonna cost anybody, so that would be another thing to get a good estimate. So I guess we're here tonight to see what the city thinks of the idea. And whether or not they would approve us to go forward, or if you think it's not something we should continue. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for presenting.
Mayor, part of the divisions that I believe are expected and discussed would be that they would have to take over maintaining the roadways and liability of the roadways, sidewalks, common areas, streetlights. And then once they have a plan for the actual gate itself, I know with Windermere Reserve, they require a bit of decel lane because you don't want stacking like you see, I think, on Robertson, for some of their roadways. Whether it's a 3-stack, 4-stack, whatever it is, to make sure that landscapers aren't stacking up to try to get in, because if that, we would just get more and more congested.
Right, and yeah, those are the things that make it a little bit of a challenge, but obviously we can hear from everybody tonight and then have a little discussion and see where council's at to see if there's any support or not to allow you to move forward to the next step of taking care of all that. All those boxes that need to be checked off prior to.
It is complicated. We would also lose the opportunity to retain and manage it for so many years to have our Windermere police check our homes when we're out of town on a daily basis. So it's a complicated decision.
It is. We appreciate you coming here to float it and let us have a little conversation about it.
Well, thank you for your time and attention.
You have any other presentations?
No, I was just here for support. Yeah, I mean, I advise them of the costs associated with it. I'm general counsel for the association, so, you know, we represent not-for-profit corporations. Obviously, there's a great amount of legalities that have to happen, expenses, insurance, all kinds of things that open the door to this. it's my understanding that really we were just here because when the boards, go to these board meetings and owners are asking questions. The board wants to be able to relay information to know whether the town would even agree to the approval of a preliminary plan, because if the answer is no, then the board can let the owners know that, hey, we looked into this. This was the response, but we're not even gonna spend any time looking at contractors, spending money on attorneys, because we don't wanna waste our clients' money as not-for-profits, moving down the path or doing anything further from a legal standpoint. If, the buck kind of stops here. So that was basically the purpose of today, was just to get information to know whether that's even a possibility. So that my client board can relate to the owners, what the feedback is and whether this is something they even are able to pursue.
Okay, could you just give us your name and address, just for the record, so we have you on the minutes?
Sure, so my name is Dara Haggerty, D-A-R-A, Haggerty, H-A-G-T-E-R-T-Y. I'm general counsel for the association. I don't know if we're meeting a residential address, since I'm not.
Business address is good.
Business address, and we're on the letter, we sent the letter, so we have this, it's Helen Odom, Patrick Odom sent the letter, and so I'm representing the law firm, so I think I saw you coming through it, I think you have all of that as one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just want to make sure we have.
Absolutely, okay, appreciate it.
So, council obviously you discussed this item a little bit and have some discussion on it. You can't vote on this item tonight or provide a certain answer, but they can certainly gauge your opinion and your thoughts as to whether they want to invest and move forward, or whether it's best to remain in the status quo. Not.
Just a quick question, just anecdotally, you have any sense of any decrease of the fines in that area?
No, again, we did, none of this one.
There's a judge.
Yeah, months later. I think you guys can handle, it's working right now. Of course, we had it in November, December, I'll talk a little bit about that, but generally overall speaking, no. And of course, we'll still have access, our new code does allow us access, so click to enter is actually in our code that will have access to that. So we wouldn't have any. It would be de minimis for us or any issues there in there, other than maybe getting in quicker.
Need a written agreement.
So similar question that other areas on Windermere Avenue and Park Green where they have access for fire.
Correct, yeah, and then there's a statute if they want us to do some enforcement action, because as Mr. Smith indicated, everything's gonna change with the ownership. We'll embark on an MOU with them so we can do that.
Brad, did you have comments?
This is just about law enforcement. You have that dated community ordinance now that went in place, and the main part of that is that police chief has to approve whatever kind of devices that they use for entry for emergency. So any kind of date that may get approved by you all, and also given by the chief to make sure that they have appropriate access to the community.
Isn't half the neighborhood not in the HOA?
So I think by doing this, one of those conditions would be that they would have to take over the entire roadway maintenance, lighting, right of ways, things like that.
Okay, because I remember it being.
There is, yeah, half and half. We take some, right, you are correct.
I don't have to say, principally, I don't have a problem with maybe being, if everybody in the neighborhood unanimously feels like they want and need a gate. Or to make their life a better place to live or feel safe or prevent future crime. I don't think it takes away aesthetically from the interest in it. I don't think it diminishes Windermere's reputation. We have gates now that I wouldn't mind it and get me myself sometime. Just for the sense of it's like turn my alarm on and it gives you a little sense of security. You can't stop all crime, you get that. But principally speaking, if you're asking me as a town council person, if you think that Windermere's mind has changed since the last 4 times you applied, I can't speak for that, but I'll say that principally speaking now, if all your ducks in a row, and your whole community wants it, I'm not opposed to it.
I'm not either. I mean, I work gates almost across the street from them, and then the next entrance down is Lake Down Preserve. And then so I don't have a problem with it.
I'm just saying, home confinement cause traffic issues on Sixth Street, because that's That's a big thing, but honestly, if you get everybody okay with that and it's not gonna cause more traffic issues, then I'm okay with this one.
And I just have a question, what is it that they do at, whatever Ross was there, call now, the part, you know, because it doesn't backfire on the highway, could you explain that a little more, because I haven't noticed.
Oh, okay, so yes, well, that gate was approved, many years ago, as part of the development agreement, for them to have that gate there. So they went through the process of the permitting, police approved it and for that gate. So what was the? I'm
Well,
sorry.
I mean, if more than two people are trying to manage, how does it not set back, because
Yes.
this is very close to where you would exit from the post office and behind. public.
Right, so they do have the right to lane in, and it's only 10 houses back there, so it's a pretty low traffic generator. And the way that gate is set, to it's set a little bit back, so there's some stacking. I will say that was approved before I came to work for the town, so I wasn't part of that planning, but that's why that works. And I think a big part of it is because there's only 10 houses back there, it's not a lot of traffic compared to other places.
And this one has 34 homes back there.
Yes,
So we would look at not only the rights and the left as well, right, for the city of to provide, the roster reserve development that was required for them to do left turns in case of somebody's backing to get into the community. Coming from the, east, but again, they'd have to take a look at the right of way, coming in from the west.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everyone else, just making sure that we don't create more of a traffic issue on six, because it's already a nightmare.
So is it fair to say it's general consensus of council that there's no objection pending all the checkboxes checked and the i's dotted and t's crossed in terms of the agreement and doing your homework and stacking the proper lane, please don't make it red and green. That would be, that's all I would personally ask. But other than that, I think that's probably what you would need to move forward. I can only guarantee you this is all this city council this year, so. As you go to work and work with staff, we'll have to price it out things are going.
So I kind of want to be clear on expectation that there is a right turn lane into the subdivision. But it looks like Sixth Avenue would have to be widened past there to get the turn lane. So.
There's one there and it tapers out, right? And
Right there.
yeah, I don't know how much.
It looks like only two lane that's right directly.
That would be part of the process, if it's gonna require it and.
I just want to make sure that our expectations are still out, so.
Everybody's on the same page, staff, are you good with that direction?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you for coming to present and look forward to seeing how it goes. Thank you. Applaud you for coming ahead of time, that's wise. Helps you know exactly what to do. All right. Hey, council liaison reports.
The renovation was a great revenue, they brought $30,000 in. That's to February 24th. I believe something with liaison report, the farmer's market, the shade structure, do I think it's well, then verify it.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, see, it's very old, and sorry. And then park signs, they wanted to consolidate some of the information on the park signage and just try to make a pretty, one sign to match the park. And instead of having all the no parking and the alcohol and they kind of wanted to see if we could put it all on signage. We did the annual walkthrough and that is January 18th. And I haven't received the notice yet, it's on him. And then they also wanted to do a public workshop to discuss future park renovations scheduled for March 7th. From 5 to 7, I believe it's in here.
As far as so it doesn't, we don't get ahead of ourselves. most of the language on the signs came about through an evolutionary process. If it can be consolidated and made to look nicer, that'd be great. But it's all there for a reason. Some of it state statutes, some of it because of our ordinances, some of it because we have insurance regulations that go along with that. So we're all on the same page. Okay.
So many different signs and different colors and be nice to have patterns.
And Mandy, just to clarify, on their walkthrough on Thursday, they have determined they cannot put everything on one sign. So they would like to consolidate as much as possible onto nicer signage.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and then totally supportive of that. I just want to make sure that we all understand that over time, these things, unfortunately, how the world is, so we have to say certain things so we can enforce the rules that we put into place and give our officers all the support and abilities, ability factors that they need. So, Brandon, you can get something.
So we had last night, Butler Chain of Lakes Advisory Board, meeting. We had Mike Millar there. He gave a presentation to the board to explain to them the overall plan we have for the stormwater swales here in town. He did mention something at the meeting that I just wanted to follow up on. He said that the Second Avenue project, they ran the benefit cost ratio, the BCR, which FEMA has to approve at 1% or higher, and when they did the BCR, it came back at 0.98. And so we are hoping that FEMA will have, a slightly higher calculation than we did, so that project moving forward. I did want to check to see for the Butler and Bessie project if we're going to run into the same issues. It was due to the costs coming back for the quotes at a higher amount. So I didn't know if Robert or anyone had any information, whether that may or may not have been affecting the Bessie project or Butler. So we did have to already separate the Bessie project, trying to meet that ratio.
Can't make that promise because again, once things are bid out, that's when we get the actual cost as opposed to proposed cost. So it may, this is the first time I'm hearing about Mike having to point out an 80 PCR, or cost benefit analysis. Yeah, so finding that 0.02 is something that we're going to have to negotiate as far as the cost of the construction. And then also the appraised values of the homes that are going to be protected. But I can't make that promise with Betsy and Butler at this time.
This is a common problem that's happening statewide, FM and DOE and they're all working on this because the cost escalations have just thrown all the DCAs off. So for all the mitigation projects. So I believe that it's important to be able to get past.
Yeah, we're hoping that if we're able to bid all three together, that hopefully get bigger bang for the buck. But we're trying to use the amounts that they're given per, pipe for road work and try to put that in, see what's going to happen in Bessie and Butler and see how much that's going to increase it.
Okay. The other thing is, and this kind of is a little bit of an overlap. I wanted to thank you for forwarding me the correspondence that we got from SHPO. That's gone back and forth between staff. I was at the last historic board meeting, so I'm not technically the liaison because I like to hear, the input from people directly. And I did want to check also to see if the information for the SHPO correspondence has been forwarded to the preservation board, which Tony might be asking them to. And if it hasn't been sent to the other council members yet.
I did send it to HPB and I actually got responses back with people thanking me, telling me they'd received it.
Okay, but it hasn't been sent to other council members yet?
Not as of yet, no.
Okay.
I think I got one. Didn't I get one today? Did you know me?
Yeah, since your response to an inquiry relative to the comments in one of the emails that was received on January 5th. But we can send you.
Similar to the same conversation we had earlier, we already had a workshop.
Yeah,
it's the same stuff.
It's the same things, but we can send you all the emails and correspondence that we have.
Yeah, well, nothing was surprising, it was just the same thing we talked about a workshop last week.
Well, I was gonna add that, part of the historic preservation board discussion was you know, in concept, they're okay with the, town hall, renovations. With the caveats that the proportionality of the gazebo is evaluated and determined. The, SHPO comments need to be rectified, and the two that, were brought apart, was what you saw was the, materials for both the roof and the facades. And then the expansion of the restrooms, didn't meet the SHPO guidelines either. So, and the deck and the gazebo aren't part of that SHPO discussion because they're separate structures and they don't, if removed, affect the town hall, structure. So, as far as the preservation board, with those caveats, they will then issue the certificate or letter of appropriateness, that we determined. But they said that it would have to be in line with the SHPO guidelines, which we still continue to do. One thing I think we need to really understand is that what's been presented is concept. Okay, the continued design needs to happen, that design through its lifespan of 30, 60, 90% development will be interactive with the SHPO to determine whether the guidelines are met or not. And at that point, we can then alter the design or determine if it's appropriate or not and move forward with that. So there's still a long road to go down with respect to the town hall renovations and a lot of decisions to be made. You know, we had a virtual virtual public workshop last night that a lot of people gave great input. You know, so there's still a lot of fact finding to happen between now and then. And as of late, there's a lot of opinions on what should happen with it. You know, I know that town hall needs help. I mean, there's some significant degradation in this place. We need to do something to keep it from degrading further. You know, so there's as usual with items brought before council, you know, some significant discussion and decisions to be made. So, and those are what we're soliciting with the workshops and our further discussion.
There's a commitment on behalf of staff and the town hall and police that no matter what is accomplished, it will not degrade the sort of status and identification of the building itself. So, yeah, we got to work through some compromise, some best practices, and getting the inputs from all the experts until we get there.
I just want to add, I mean, I agree with that, but I do know that, and I went back and read the minutes because I was out of town over the summer, but it was voted by the former city council 5-0. Well, not voted because it was just, pick your option, and the option that the public came out and said was to send the money back. We don't want to have the money from Healthy West Orange, and I know that we're now looking at this. My concern would be that if residents aren't happy with that decision, if it's not going to meet the caveats that even our historic board has said they want, because part of the problem is the size and scale of the pavilion and whether it's detached or attached, because the view shed is what SHPO looks at, the view from Main Street, and with that sticking out, whether it's attached or not, especially if it's large, it affects the view and scale of how our town hall looks. So, that's my understanding of it, and having had to do archaeology impacts assessments on projects, in the past when I worked. So, one of my concerns is how much money have we spent continuing down this path since June, that I am assuming is continuing to come out of what would be awarded as a Healthy West Orange funds, just making sure that we're making the right choices moving forward, that everyone, has this information and is aware.
Okay, it's a different structure though.
Discussed and voted on that or last.
Correct.
So the direction is set and clear.
Yeah, we're trying to get to what we can actually present. So everything we've worked towards so far would be folded into if you did it by yourself anyways.
So you work over the process of this.
I do have one other thing that's not exactly necessarily a liaison report, but there has been a few issues. I understand that I'm new to the council and that this is a transition period for everyone. But I've had some issues with staff. A member of staff that, I feel has, at some meetings that I've attended, has, tried to inform me and chastise me for speaking when I want to share information or disseminate information. I am familiar with the town charter, I am familiar with the sunshine laws, and there is no violation of me attending a meeting or sharing information. And I think that that needs to be handled before it gets out of control. I am a council member, and I am here at the behest of the residents of this town to do the best things for this community and the best things for the residents. And if for some reason staff feels that my sharing of information is not okay in whatever way, shape, or form, I feel that that should be handled privately, or it should go through Roberts, because it's not appropriate for some of the interactions that I've had. My other concern is in regards to projects such as the 500 block. You know, there's been a lot of stuff going on. I'm not sure if council's been seeing the updates, so I'm sure they're aware that there's issues with the tree protection zones. And I'm getting calls from residents, you know, making sure that things are staying in compliance. So, you know, I have in no way directed any other staff, other than Robert, of things that I wanted, mostly I've just been asking questions. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the same equitable treatment as every other council member, that if I have questions, I want to feel like I'm able to ask them without being impeded by that from staff. So just wanted to make that the record.
Any additional comments? Just along the same line, I'd like to get Councilor Ramos's take on multiple council members attending committees. Obviously, each one of us is liaison for a specific committee for a reason, and I feel, and I'd love to get your take, that if multiple council members show up to committee, that's a violation of sunshine law if we discuss our opinions and where we stand on the position.
So you do have to be careful. You have more than one council member attending another meeting. The problem would come in if you have two council members sitting in the audience, talking amongst themselves about business that's going to come before the council for discussion. If you have more than two council members at a committee meeting, they should sit separate and not talk amongst themselves. Your committee meetings are public meetings, so if you have a council member that talks to the committee and provides public input, that's not a liaison member, they should be doing so as a member of the public and not as a representative of the council. So it's okay to have more than one person there, but you need to be very careful when you're there to be acting as a member of the town, not as a member of the town council, but a member of the public.
Yeah, and I think that's my concern is that, you know, when we, several of us show into a specific meeting and act in your town council capacity, that is a very, very fine line that could easily cross, so.
Especially putting forth your opinion on how you would vote.
Correct.
And that's the dangerous piece.
It can be very problematic. But also, allow me to say this, and my preference to do it in private, but I think that it is important that as a new council person, that we respect the institution of what is done here, how it is done, we respect our staff, and they respect council back. That there's a process and there's a forum for a reason. You have to trust the rest of the council, and we have to trust you. That's how this works. I know that you can an adjustment. I know it wasn't necessarily the traditional way that you come on to the council. So, just give it a little time. I'm happy to have some discussions in terms of you know, there are ways to ease this process. To take a little trust and a little understanding on many fronts. But it can be very useful, you can really work to move things forward. You can trust the process.
Something along those same lines, the workshops that we do that are, maybe I'm confused about it, but it seems like sometimes we do have input and sometimes we don't. I know we've been at Zoom meetings where I've spoken at workshops, and then we've had, live meetings out here where I spoke too, so. Because I feel like since we can't talk to anybody, that maybe some of those workshops, some of the places we could discuss some of these things before we get here. So I wonder if maybe we could just have these workshops, get the public input first, and then maybe we could have a discussion on our own, discussing the stuff that we could settle before we get here as a group, because it would seem to me that would be suitable. Because I know last night's workshop, I thought it'd be some discussion between us as to what our opinions were about stuff, so it kind of threw me off. I really didn't, I'm glad it was over when it was over, because I was ready to go to dinner. But I just don't know the protocol of that.
That was very info.
There's a difference between a town council workshop and a public information workshop. A public information workshop is mostly for the residents to discuss amongst themselves and for you to listen of what their concerns are or recommendations are going to be. And then once we get to that town council workshop, that's the time for you guys just to talk amongst yourselves, because you don't get the time to do that. And having a 4-hour meeting really isn't that productive after you've heard 3 hours of comments and you have 1 hour to talk. So that's why we dedicate a specific meeting just to talk about that one subject matter.
Okay, thank you for.
Yeah.
No, it does make sense, right? That's why it's that way.
So do we have a town council workshop coming up? Is that the next one for us before the next information workshop?
Lillian and Christian were supposed to work on the next town council workshop relative to the town hall.
Yeah.
You have one already scheduled in February, that's to go over the charter, sunshine laws and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I believe she's gonna start working on that. I thought she already had it in place by now, but I'm not sure if she's waiting for this next one in February to happen before we went ahead and scheduled that one, but.
Yeah, thank you for the, I didn't know the distinction. That's what I was asking, but yeah, I definitely would like to see some town council workshop.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
But after workshop, that's our opportunity to go back and forth.
Right,
Stand up, sit down, and whatever, so. And that's why it's so important to work the process, because we have such limited opportunities to actually talk.
Right.
And I think that's about anything of substance, and the longer you're on council, the worse it kind of gets. So, you have to make sure that you.
And that's my, that's not I've been ready necessarily, but I had some say frustration because I'm like, I would like to be involved in this conversation before it becomes a bigger conversation, but it wasn't appropriate at the time. And so I get it, I understand why we do what we do, but I do understand Frank's frustration, but I've been in a situation where I felt like, I kind of want to say something.
We've all,
Yeah.
we've all been in that seat, you know,
Like,
that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's the hard part about being council,
Yeah, learning the process.
is going through the process, but we've all been there.
So the reason why I always encourage people to use terms, because your first year, you're just literally, getting comfortable learning how to accomplish everything you like to accomplish. So you're really much more effective your second term. So my experience and observation.
There have been council members that have not run for re-election because they felt they were more effective on the council.
Right. Yeah.
Because
That again?
No.
No, I get your point. I experienced that with me, but.
Exactly. You actually become a little bit isolated and,
Yeah, you guard yourself a little better, more, you want to do the right thing. And I think that's all brain wants to do, is just do the right thing,
And when you take the ethics class, it's clear, and it's 4 hours, we have to do it every year, no matter, we have to do it every year, but it spells out, there's a lot, there's certain things you just don't think about until you take that class. When you take that class, you really kind of go, okay, you second guess everything you're gonna do, just because you don't want to break.
Well, and the other thing too is there's a lot, it's not just a general line, it's also, it's also the whole process, and that's why we're gonna have a good classes with a lot of new committee members, you know, new council folks, and it's always good to hear together and run through the process, and talk about what ifs and all of that. We really want to make sure that everybody gets as effective as possible. Very good. Anything additional for council?
The only other report we have is we had a project meeting on 17. Project meeting notes have been published again, but.
I'm actually working on this, I'm trying to redo them so it's easier to read.
Get long.
They're very long, yeah, it's not only that, but we kind of lose what the actual project originated as, and then what it's become now. You know, we started talking about the river right away, and now it's morphed into the bridge and the multi-little path project. So I'm trying to break it into little chunks so it's easier to understand. That's one of the things I want to go over at the next town council workshop in February, to go over not only, you know, sunshine law, charter, stuff like that, but also give an update on the project, so we're familiar with, okay, where we're at, where we're going, what are some of the issues that are arising.
It was people liaison, I like to personally thank Tanya for being there, they're regrouping. And it's a lot of confusion going on, and Tanya kind of keeps everything on track, so. But they are an energetic group.
Yes,
They're very passionate,
that's
so
great.
people go in the right direction.
Yes.
Good stuff. Staff reports.
Yes, you know, legislative sessions in right now, and the biggest session right now is the appropriations. We submitted for about, I would say, 4 appropriations. One is for the north potable phase for the water projects, the other one is for the south potable water phase. Then we have the 6th Avenue roundabout enhancements, as well as any enhancements to stormwater enhancements to 12 and Chase. We met with the DOT liaison about 2 weeks ago, whenever our projects, and pretty much what they said was, if you don't hear from us, it's a good sign. So they haven't heard from them just yet, so we'll see where that goes. Again, when I sent out the project meeting notes, we get a good sense of where we're at with a lot of these projects, because of a lot of fit in place. Usually things die down at the end of the year, they pick up at the very beginning of the year. And so we're starting to see that pick up right now, especially with the phase 1 of the multi-modal path with the lap implementation. All the staff members pretty much have done all the classes, and now we're shooting for activity District 5 to get on their ball, I guess, because they've been kind of taking their time. So a lot of the updates we're reaching out to FDM, we're reaching out to FDNC, we're reaching out to FDP to get those contracts, to get those agreements, to get that information we need to proceed with some of these projects. That's all I have.
Let me know if you want to have a conversation about those benefit cost analysis, or I can put you with the folks who are working ours through for Bay, because this is a statewide issue. In fact, some people will give their money back. Because if you end up at a 25 day, you can't make the gap.
Right.
But also no one will tell you the formula.
Yeah.
Makes it double exciting. So it's really about the relationship that comes down to.
Yes. And we're close. I mean, we're pointed or 2 away from the CDA working. So we're hopeful that we're able to get that, and then I'll talk to Mike tomorrow to figure out where he's at with his numbers, because he was, I think, above a 1, or just out of 1, and see where we can gain that extra 0.02.
Robert, what is the north and south boundaries for that water plan, and do you have a rough timeline? I don't know what's to it, but
I don't have a timeline just yet. Each one of those projects is well over $3 million, as it was, I think, about a year ago. So the north phase would be north of the canal area, and then the south phase would be, I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it was more to the east of 6th Avenue, south of 6th Avenue, but not the Bessie Butler area. That's part of the central phase. But also without the actual locations of each one.
okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
People are getting a little anxious about it, they figure that some of the new construction, people want to put in their own water lines, and they're getting told to wait, so. The new construction people want to put in their own water.
Yeah,
And I know they're getting told to wait, they don't have any timelines, just.
yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that they wait to hold up their construction.
Well, for the water.
Yeah.
Are we giving permission to people to extend the current water lines for new construction?
They're allowed to, that is a separate agreement between a property owner and the utility company.
Okay,
So they can get that extension all they want.
all right.
If they're waiting for us to extend or widen, a 4-inch line to an 8-inch line, so they get better fire protection and they want to hook up later on, you know, they're gonna have to wait on that.
So at the end of this current existing 4-inch line can tap in if they wanted to.
They would have to negotiate with Orange County Utilities to figure out if, one, that line is sized enough for the amount of potable water that they need.
Right,
And if it is, then they just negotiate that with Orange County Utilities.
okay.
Or if they need to upsize that line, that's on them. Or they can wait and see when we're gonna be able to get that potable water system to them.
So just to clarify, this is one particular neighborhood I asked, but you to clarify, the north is actually north of the canal, nowhere near 6th. Is the north of the canal, and this is the south part is the south canal.
Yeah, I'll send you
Okay.
I'll send everybody when I do the project report, or the project notes of what the parameters each of those phases are.
Thank you.
I do work with the county with the letters, and
Yeah.
what has happened is the county has not put these requests as priorities, so what they're telling homeowners is, yeah, you can do that, but you have to do the engineering, you have to run the lines, you have to do everything. The only thing we're gonna do is come put the meter in, and then you need to find somebody to hook it to your house.
So, yeah,
So that's where the changes have come in since COVID. They're not coming out and running the lines like they've done before.
thank you.
But if it's new construction, the cost of a well, the cost of the pump and all the water treatment,
Yeah,
maybe a worthy conversation because it's not cheap to do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's.
I mean,
It's like the-
yeah.
All right.
Hey, good evening. Public Works is working to assist Brad with support for the 500 block project. Additionally, we are working on the town hall project as well. So we've got lots of public meetings that we're working on with that. So that's keeping us, those two projects are keeping us pretty busy. Secondly, we're still shorthanded in Public Works, so it's just three of the field staff at the moment, and hopefully we'll have Brian back and be back up to 4 shortly. The diverter at 9th and Oakdale is functioning very nicely. Vicky did a fantastic job of landscaping that. I think we had one car the very first day try to run through the median. Other than that, I have not received any calls about anyone trying to run through it. Thank you. I hope I didn't just jinx that. That's the end of my report.
Thank you.
So like Robert said, session started. A couple of our lobbyists have said it's probably going to be very interesting now that the governor has dropped out of the presidential race. So I will keep you posted on new and exciting things that I hear coming up.
Let's see what happens.
I'll be brief, real quick, we actually just submitted a first year audit, internal audit for accreditation already.
That's crazy.
It's great that it's been in there. Obviously last month we had the burger rate, we did a quick operation on that. I think it's pretty effective. If you want any information, get it privately. We are working active cases and, at some time in the future, they're gonna be pretty significant. And spend some time to get some attention to the new state attorney, send some meetings at their request. I know Heather's been putting her to work lately, and some legal bulletins on the MOU for the Brady list. So we agreed to that, and that came to fruition finally after about a year and a half. And then it's a community forum meeting on use of force at their request as well. Again, we met our new recruit, we had another one. Hopefully, I'm gonna hire, I said that last time, but it wasn't that, we pulled that out, and we did it for the right reasons, but, I think we've got another one that we're looking at getting at. A couple quick dates, February 16th, our awards ceremony, if you got that. I know, Councilmember, that's supposed to be, you're gonna be gone already, but if you can make that, we'd love to have you there. Also, March 21st, Mayor, I know if you're in town, I'll be hosting that chiefs meeting that month, so if you're available, come over and say hi to all the chiefs and sheriffs, that'd be great. That's it.
It's also the 10th anniversary of your. do our best as a council to make sure that we're at least represented in all of the memorials.
22nd actually falls on a food truck night.
We can get this, there's some different, so there's several different ones, there's a countywide, statewide, and a national. I'm not sure if we're in touch with here or not. But, we can talk about that, this would be great, if we could, you know, just tell your council that we
Right, I'll get those out in the notes, and then last thing I put it out next week, but I was supposed to be going as of today, but I didn't have my orthopedic surgeon must have had a better golf appointment than to replace my shoulders. So, starting next week, shoulder replacement, that'll be pretty big surgery, I'll be out for 2 weeks. Jason's being in charge, but I'll be in town and all the way down.
And Chief, you said that was February 16th, I have that on my calendar, just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
6 p.m.
That's fine, don't worry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But or anything from your
Oh, it's easy as a bee.
You can't put that microphone away, so I think you want to say anything.
So if there is nothing else for the good of the order, we will close our town council meeting at 7:24. Thanks, sir.